Coach, how you doing?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sweet.
Nice. Nice new office. How you digging it?
Yeah, I'm doing some interior decorating all our new stuff, and it's kind of weird for me because I'm up in the second floor in the athletic facility, so I'm a little bit away from the weight room. So I don't know how much I like that. So
It's just getting your steps in while you get over there.
yeah. I just have to kind of post up in the office down there during the lift groups, and then come back up here and relax a little bit. It's nice for me to have some quiet time.
Yeah, sure. It's one of those things where you can separate it a little bit and then be in the grind down there, and then separate yourself up there to do other stuff. I'm sure.
Kind of like being a dad, where I have to be Coach Sobol here, and then when I go home, I can't be Coach Sobol anymore.
Yeah. All right, 6 o'clock on the dot here. First off, I just want to welcome everybody to the first ever We Believe Coaches Show. I am the co-founder and director of the We Believe Network, Austin Bolton. I'm also your host tonight. Some of you might have seen me before. I also co-host the Aztec Breakdown podcast. But seriously, thank you all for joining us tonight. More importantly, thank you so much for everybody listening, either live or on the recording, for joining our community. We're really striving to bring something of value to the alumni and the fan base, while also bringing unique NIL opportunities to our student athletes, where they can do something around the passions that they have, and also make sure that they're financially stable. And this is all part of our mission and what we're trying to do. So thank you, everybody, joining us tonight. I sincerely appreciate it. And this is the first step of many of building something great here. But without further ado, let's get to the main event. We have the head of football performance for San Diego State, Coach Jeff Sobol. Jeff, first off, how's San Diego treating you? Have you found any good spots that you love other than the weight room, that you're just really getting in the rhythm of living here on the Mesa?
Man, San Diego has been quite the adjustment for us Midwest guys, and it's been really, really cool to experience. We got a couple weeks before the holidays where we had to come out, and we had a couple of really good recruiting weekends before we all went home for Christmas and stuff. So kind of like a crash course in San Diego in a very small time there. And then this time coming back, get to kind of relax just a little bit more as we're kind of finishing up the signing class and finishing up recruiting, and then kind of getting ready to go with our first team meeting tomorrow already and getting going right away. So I love it so far. It's going to be an experience, especially with my family coming in. I can't wait for them to get here. It's kind of weird doing it all right now without them, because I can't wait for them to get here and be able to experience all this here. But as far as spots, so I'm staying right now in the Sheridan. So Bullies is right there, and Bullies has been a really cool place.
Classic San Diego State spot.
And I've kind of figured that out pretty quick with Marshall Falk's letter jacket hanging up in the rafters. Is pretty sweet. But with the football games going on and all of us coaches staying over at the Sheridan, it's kind of like been a nice little spot where we get some good food and kind of feels a lot in a big, huge city like this is. It feels like a nice little homey college vibe.
Nice. Well, let me tell you, as a fellow Midwesterner who was born in Indiana and moved to California, there's nothing like calling your family in the Midwest on Christmas, being like, oh, like it's 70 on Christmas. How's your day going? So it's you came here at the ideal time for that part of the year.
Definitely took a while. So when we were out here the first time, I had to set an alarm for my kids to so I could say goodnight to them, because 4:30 gets come pretty quick here, and I had to make sure that by 7:30 I was calling them during bath time to make sure I could say goodnight to them, because otherwise I would forget all about it. So,
well, before we get it, how much do you love football early on Sundays here, starting at 10 o'clock?
Man, it's
a game changer, right?
I know. I kept checking my watch. I was like, there's no way it's only 6 o'clock, when we're sitting there, because it messes with you because it gets dark. But I mean, hey, there's a lot of things to be excited about around here. I can't wait to get going.
Yeah, well, I know first day of team meetings start tomorrow, winter workouts. The first thing I wanted to ask you though more broadly is, what has surprised you in your month-ish here at San Diego State so far?
Surprised me. I think how everybody's embraced us and the excitement around the program right now has been really, really cool. I haven't got to experience that yet. The places that I've been haven't had the fan base that's here and has been excited about, and so many people are excited about the program, and especially new faces and new blood. And I know that kind of what the expectation with this program is. It's traditionally a winning program, and getting that back to where it needs to be is really exciting, and being able to bring that to the fan base is awesome, and being on the ground level of what it takes to get back up to where this program is expected to be. But man, I really feel supported. I feel a lot of people are excited about it, and I kind of knew that was going to happen, but it is kind of nice. It is kind of a nice, pleasant surprise.
We were kind of just talking about your setup and getting going here. How are the facilities treating you so far compared to other stops have you been? I mean, are you feeling good about what you got here to work with the guys on?
Yeah, I'm so excited, and the idle time kills me. And any coach that you talk to, obviously we appreciate the time that we get with our families and we get this off time, but man, it's kind of hard to turn it off sometimes when your wheels are spinning all the time about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and all the different ways, especially in my realm where there's a million ways to do the job. We all have the same goals at the end. And from philosophy standpoint, just being like, I can do anything I want to in that weight room down there. It's huge and it's got all kinds of space. And if I can't get the job done in that room, I shouldn't be at this place. I shouldn't be in this role. So.
All right. So I want to get into some of the nitty gritty of your role. And I'm just curious. So for strength and conditioning coaches for the last 100 years, there's a lot of similarities, right? A lot of, the traditional weightlifting calisthenics and things like that. But one thing I wanted to ask you about is really about the analytics, the science, other innovations that are out there that help you do your job and inform you on the decisions you want to make for the performance program that you want to implement for the team.
Yeah. So, nowadays, especially, when it comes, first of all, you have to start with information. The amount of information that's out nowadays compared to, just say 20 years ago is night and day with, social media and people constantly giving all this information out, and you have to sort through what's good information and what's bad information. But the information era, man, you can get so much really, really good stuff from a lot of really good coaches, and kind of learn and grow and develop from that information that you're getting. But man, also the technology is crazy now and what you can do. And it's kind of hard because, there are so many options and there's so many things you can do, and you got to figure out it's not always, I want this, I want this, I want this. You can't use the data to make your program better. It's just kind of keeping up with the Joneses when it kind of comes to technology. But using that technology and using that data to guide your program the best way possible so that the kids benefit the most, and you being able to use and actually analyze that data, and not just, hey, we have all this, but we don't really know what we're going to do with it. But progressing it and not letting science completely run it, and not letting technology completely run the program, because I don't think you can out-science hard work at the end of the day. But you can definitely use it to help you.
And can you provide a specific example of how you use the data to inform a decision that you make on something you might implement with a certain part of the strength program or the part of the conditioning program?
Yeah, well, for instance, we just bought a timing gate system that's a laser timing gate system here. Will give us about 2 lanes worth of work that will track guys from an acceleration standpoint and from a top speed standpoint. Just little things like that allows us to go to the cloud and see where they start, see where they finish. It's also a good recovery tool for us to know, if they're getting smoked, if we're giving them too much, to kind of know how their bodies are recovering, how fast they're recovering, along and with that stuff. And that's just a small thing that we have here. But also, when you get into wearables like GPS and all these things that show top speed, top yardage, top workload, and all these things that we can manage, so that Coach Lou and I, when we sit down and structure practice, we can, when he sits down and structures practice, he can get my input about, hey, what are we ready for? Let's start practice at this, because I know that they're trained for this amount of strain and work, so that we're not putting them in situations they're not trained for, and then continue to ramp that up as we go through practice. But, using that stuff to guide what we want to do. Back in the day, you used to have coach's eye, right? The bar's moving fast. Hey, move the bar fast. Well, now you have things that can tell you how fast the bar is moving. And now you have data that says hey, that was a hard practice. Yeah, I can show you because of the data from practice, from the DPS units, that, hey, we're pushing the envelope right now. So just things to validate kind of already what you've already known, especially with a lot of experience in coaching. You kind of know when things get to be going a certain way. But to have that validation and to know that you are right. And sometimes things seem a certain way and they're not at all, so that stuff really helps us.
Outside of like just tradition, like all the things, how hard you're going at practice, weightlifting, all those things, how much other data do you collect around, rest, sleep, hydration, nutrition? Is that part of your entire holistic program that you're setting up here at San Diego State?
Yeah, that's so cool that you asked that, because at the bottom of my sheet, so the guys are going to get a sheet that they fill out with their name on the top, and whether or not that's a 2-week sheet, 3-week sheet, 4-week sheet, depending on where we're at in our phase. But at each day, they'll bring it up to a coach, they'll bring it up to one of us, and we'll look at it, make sure everything's good. Obviously, we've watched them the whole day, so we know what's going on. But at the bottom, I want them to start making correlations with how they feel. Okay, so it'll say hours slept, meals eaten, and that's always going to be from the day before. So if they have a really bad day in the weight room and they're feeling real lethargic, really tired, weight's not moving the way it should, and they're honest with us and they can write down 5 hours of sleep and 2 meals yesterday, be like, hey, that's probably a huge reason why you feel the way you feel. And I'm just making correlations like that. And right, that's a super easy thing to do as long as they're being honest with us so we can help them. And if they put 8 and 3 or 8 and 4 and have a great day, hey, that's probably a big reason why you had such a good day. And that's not a really glamorous thing to talk about, sleep and hydration and food, because everybody wants the quick thing. Everybody wants the Instagram worthy thing, right? The quick thing that this is going to help you. But again, you're just avoiding the consistency and hard work that it takes to actually be successful. But go to bed early, turn the game off, like turn the phones off, make sleep a priority. And, I was taught a long time ago that sleep is the #1 performance enhancing thing you can do. And, we had a big junior day here yesterday with a bunch of high school kids, and they all want to ask the strength coach, what supplement should I take? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I'm like, parents, get them to bed. And nobody wants to hear that. But like at that point in their life, when they're growing and they have all this, great things pumping through their bodies and hormones and all these changes that they have, if you get them to sleep and, train hard when it's time to train hard, but more is not always better. Like, sleep and eat and hydrate. But
how much no, that's exactly what I was going for. I mean, how much some of the guys, these guys are just like, they're so focused on what they're doing. Like, how much do you actually have to harness them back a little bit and saying, hey, like, we see the data, you were like redlining yesterday, and I know you're also have like a bunch of like midterms, and I know you haven't gotten much sleep. Like, I need you to tone it back a little bit. Like, how much are you managing that for the student athletes?
Yeah, the stress, and these kids are going through a lot, from an academic load and personal lives and all the things that we put on them as well, with all the standards and expectations that we're going to hold of them here. That all adds up, and we got to be conscious of that and know that as much as we want them to be perfect and want them to handle everything the right way, they're not going to, and they're going to hit some bumps in the road. But that's why we're called coaches, because it's an art. It's not just a black and white thing. Sometimes we got to pull a kid aside and be like, hey, what's going on? I see you every day. I can tell you have a look on your face. Something's not right. Like, can I help you with something right now? And those little things go a long way. But especially from a strength coach perspective, we're the ones that see them. I'm going to be the first contact for the new culture that we're going to build here in 2 days. And, I'm going to set the foundation and set the framework for it. And I'm going to be the one they're going to be around the most in their career. And that's why I'm here. And that's why Coach Lewis brought me here, because, him and I are on the same page, and we've been together a really long time.
How much of the mental health aspect of it, managing is the wrong word, but just like understanding where these guys are at to make sure they're in the right place, so that when they get to the weight room, they're ready to put in good sets. Like, how much does you and just the broader coaching staff manage that to make sure these guys are in the right place?
I really think, when you say the right place, you mean mentally and, and actually physically in the right place.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that having extremely high standards for them and expecting greatness out of them is a thing that helps them push through some of those moments where they know, like, hey, when they come to the facility, no matter what they're dealing with, the weights are still going to weigh the same. Coach Sobol is still going to be yelling, and he's still going to have the same energy every single day. And I want to be consistent for them so that they know exactly what they're going to get every day. So, providing them with that consistency and those environments of positivity and, getting them, providing them the tools to be great, because they all have greatness inside of them, right? And it's our job to get it out. And, we have bad days too. And I want them to know that it's not, we don't always wake up on, the right side of the bed and feel great and, don't have kids, screaming all night at us and all the things that we go through as adults too. And I think that it's really to be transparent with them, for them to understand that we're humans too, and we fight the same battles that they do, goes a long way with them, because, there's a lot of coaches out there that try to act like Supermen and understand like that they don't have bad days, or they don't have demons and things that they're dealing with too. And, I think that to be transparent and honest with them and know that, we're dealing with the same things too, but like, to hold them to an extremely high standard, I think really, really helps them out through some of those moments.
And I think that's a great lesson for if you're a leader or a manager in any industry. Like, humanizing yourself just brings a whole nother level of respect between, the two different people that are in that kind of managerial coaching relationship. And, it's just great to hear, because you sat down too long, coach, so the lights went out.
I got these automatic lights, so if I don't move for a while, it turns off. So there you go. See, that's a human element right there.
Yeah, right there. No, so okay, one thing I wanted to switch, kind of pivot, is just around how, when you're coaching these guys up and you're getting their bodies ready for optimal performance on the field, how much of that is intertwined with also getting their bodies in a position to from an injury prevention perspective, right? Like, do you do the work kind of early in the off season to get them in a place where their bodies, you're the best place to avoid injuries, and then you ramp them up for games? How much is that intertwined, or is it a step-by-step process starting now through September? How does that work for the team?
It's a good question. It's definitely a step-by-step process. And the cool thing about strength is there's a million ways to do it, right? Because we all have the end goal of putting the best product on the field in the fall that we possibly can, like, having every player that we have be at their best. And, different things are emphasized in different points of the year. And I've kind of gotten away from saying injury prevention, because I think it's impossible to prevent everything. And if I can't prevent everything, I'm not going to say it. So I usually use the word mitigate, because there's the thing, because I'm going to do the best I possibly can to prevent every injury possible, right? I'm going to do that, and I'm going to analyze if things are happening, if there's holes in the program, or if there's things that I'm not thinking about that I can add in that can really help us. I'm definitely going to do that. But I don't want to tell them that I'm going to prevent everything, because I don't feel like that's truthful, because the game is violent and it's a collision sport that we love, and we're going to play it the right way, and some things happen. But obviously the reason there's weights and weight rooms is to keep players big, strong, fast, and healthy. And that is a huge goal of mine, but I want to stray away from prevention, because I don't feel like that's exactly what we do. But so like wintertime, what we're about to get into right now is a big size and strength phase where, we want to get their bodies back. They went through a long season. We're getting guys from different places now with the current, with how football is now, with how college football is. This is a huge phase where we're getting these transfers with 1 year left that we got to kind of assess, see where their body is, see where their strength levels are at, and all the things that we need to do from that standpoint. And we just focus on size and strength. We don't eliminate field work. We still do our sprint work. We still do aerobic conditioning. We still touch change of direction. But that volume is about as low as it ever be throughout the course of the year, so that we can kind of build their bodies up a little bit, get them big and strong and healthy, so that we can continue to, make the adaptations that we need to make throughout the course of the rest of the year.
So when it comes to getting guys ready, like, do you have different programs for different position groups?
I don't base it by position groups. I base it by training age and how their bodies respond to the program. So what I tell, I come in and we have these recruiting presentations, and I tell the truth, where I'm like, listen, I'm not ever going to let my ego get in the way of how you're developing. I'm not going to say you're doing this program because you're this, you're doing this program because you're this. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the right stimulus that your body needs. So after you make the adaptations and grow from a basic program, okay, let's amp it up a little bit, and let's give you a little bit different stimulus and mess with the periodization and add some different power elements and things like that. See how your body responds. Once you make those adaptations, let's change the program again as you get older and as your training age increases. But everybody has a different, that's where we specialize a little bit. It's not by position, it's by training age, where how fast their body responds to stimulus. Because some of these kids come in from high schools that have been in great programs and they're going to progress a little faster, and that's okay. But somebody that doesn't have a huge training base already, like, we're going to slow play them and make sure technique is good before we start progressing them into more advanced things. But everything starts from a simplistic standpoint, because the simplest way is always the best way when it comes to programming. Because I'm not going to put a bunch of fluff in, but simple doesn't mean easy, right? It just means that we're going to do the simple things at an elite level with really, really high intent.
So is that some of the difference between, say, a training age of 18's program with a guy that might be 22 is maybe the complexity of the program, whereas an 18-year-old, like, you're doing the basics, but you're doing the basics really well. And then maybe you're a 22-year-old senior and, like, you've just added layers to it to where it's just a much more complex ordeal.
Yeah. And exactly. So, now we're dealing, in some cases, we're dealing with, 5th, 6th, 7-year cases, like the rare ones now where, these kids, I can't train them like an 18-year-old coming out of high school, giving them the volume and the intensities that it takes to develop those kids from that standpoint or from that place that they are when they walk through the doors to what they are 5-6 years down the road. The program does change and the emphasis does change. Maybe just to give an example, because I mentioned velocity and bar speed earlier. So, okay, once we get to the point where I feel like you're sufficiently strong for your position, based on some certain strength parameters, okay, let's take the focus on how much weight we're moving, and let's try to move heavy weight faster. Let's have you have a little bit of autonomy with your training day today, and we're gonna give you a range that you have to hit the velocity at, instead of worrying about how heavy you're going, working on getting the weight to fit into the velocity instead of the velocity fitting into the weight. So just little things like that where we can make small changes and have the tools to do that to continue to grow adaptations.
So these kids are obviously a lot of the student athletes are still not fully developed, right? They're still growing in their bodies, especially some of the guys that came in early, right? How big of jumps can you see in like one offseason? Could a student athlete potentially be like an 18 training age and bump up to like 20 just based off of natural progression of their body types?
Yeah, I mean, genetics are amazing. Some of these kids, like, and even something as simple as putting emphasis on food, getting them 3 quality meals, like some of these, just the way, either how they grew up or where they grew up, or it's just not normal for them to eat 3 big meals a day. You'll see a huge change when they get to campus and they're like, I get to eat 3 meals anytime I want and then get a big old snack before I go to bed, just by getting those calories in their system. And some of these genetic freaks that we get to, get to coach and what they turn into, like, everybody wants to give the strength coach credit for what they're doing, but a lot of times it's just these, the genetics that these kids have, and you obviously give them some of the X's and O's it takes to get to that point. But man, they're doing all the work. I always tell when players start thanking me, they're like, "Oh, coach, you did this." Like, I actually didn't. I didn't do anything. You did it all. I guided you. But it's important for them to understand that work works, and the more that they put in, is the more they're going to get out of it.
Nice. Well, we got a question here from Will that I wanted to ask. So, does the type of offense or defensive scheme matter in how you train them? Like, do you and Coach Lewis figure that out based on that?
Yeah, I knew this. Everybody wants to know, because I've trained a lot of Coach Lewis, Coach Lewis's football teams, and obviously we're going to be extremely fast-paced offense, and we're going to be no huddle, and we're going to break our opponents, and those are all the goals that we have, right? Our running volume is going to be a little higher than teams we play, especially when we start getting into the summertime when their bodies can handle it. But right now, it's not going to be any different than anybody else. We're just going to be preaching how we do it and making sure that it gets done the right way with the right amount of effort. Because what I'm not going to tolerate is just going through the motions and being like everybody else. We're going to go through this phase where it's going to be pretty vanilla at the first, because I don't know, all these kids are new to me. We're going to walk into the weight room in 2 days and I'm going to go through an assessment process and really see what we're good at and what we're bad at, and structure the program so it's the best thing for them, and kind of keep that in mind, where I know what the product is that Coach Lou needs going into the spring. and I'm going to do everything I can to give him that product and make sure that, the guys are ready. But, there's no secret sauce. There's no secret anything. It's just, it's really establishing the culture the right way and understanding that these kids know they have greatness inside of them. They can push themselves a lot further than what they think they can.
All right. That's awesome. Well, I'm pivoting. We're almost out of time here, but I wanted to pivot on something that's more selfish, quite frankly, because I know you're getting back in the routine of your 100 burpees a day, getting it. First off, have you done them today? And two, for our members that maybe are on the same page, trying to get back into it, what are some basic couple tips off the top of your head for just the general public of like getting back into the rhythm, getting back into healthy habits? What would someone just ask you, like, how could I be as healthy as and as athletic as a college athlete? Like, what would you tell the basic person?
So first of all, yes, I did my burpees, and I picked something, and I was just talking to Coach Lou about it the other day, because I picked something that I knew was really hard. And I didn't think 25 was enough. I didn't think 50 was enough. And 75 is just a weird number. So I just went up, and I was literally sitting around with my family before the first, and I was like, I got to do something every day. I want to do a challenge this year and see. And then I came up with 100 burpees, and, I hated myself for it for the first couple of days and I still do. But that's the cool thing, is because I've been overcoming it every day. And then tomorrow I have to have the same battle, and then I overcome it, and then I have to have the same battle. So, I like doing that, and I like testing myself. But for everybody trying to get back in shape, it literally boils down to this. It boils down to being consistent, and that's not a glamorous thing. Find something that you enjoy that you can be consistent with. Once you can be consistent with the enjoyable things, then you continue to build and continue to grow and continue to find things that challenge you. But it doesn't have to be miserable. You don't go into the gym and lift for an hour and a half and get so sore you can't walk the next day, because that's not doing anybody any good, and you're not going to get back in there, right? Because you're going to make excuses. I'm sore, I'm not going to go back in, and then 2 weeks pass and you're not back in there. But enjoy yourself. Find something that, whether that's riding a bike, whether it's walking around in the beautiful sun that's California is, right? Like, I've been on the beach already a couple times. Just find the stuff that you enjoy to get out there and can start those consistent habits, because no matter what goal you're chasing, even at the elite level, it's what you can be consistent with that actually matters when it comes to nutrition and exercise and all the things that are really worth anything in life. So.
And then to piggyback that off, another question we have is, like, when you're talking about the tech, is there any tech that's kind of more available to the public that you think are good tools for folks to use, and the data that comes from those that you can utilize to monitor progress and things like that?
Yeah, I love this. Like, the ability to just be able to see how many steps you took in a day. Like, what a great tool to be able to monitor how much you're moving around, right? Like, we all get into these ruts and we focus on work so much that we, maybe all we need to do is go walk outside, walk outside during our lunch break and take a couple laps and focus on a step number. I noticed that the comment down here with the Whoop bands, I'm like, yeah, those are amazing. They track your sleep. They kind of gauge your readiness and all those things. But, I don't think that really is that much of a value unless you're really pushing your body, because it's going to tell you you're ready every day if you're sleeping a lot and you're not really doing much. But there's a lot of little things like that. And I can't believe the amount of things that this can do, especially tracking your sleep. You can wear it at night and really start analyzing your sleep and making sure that you're taking care of your body as best you can. But, even the activity rings and all the things that this thing does is amazing. But, the technology nowadays is crazy.
Sometimes you just got to get shamed into standing up and just taking a lap around the office. That does it to me all the time in my day job. It's like,
and, obviously I provide loud, energetic environments and stuff. And she'll tell me all the time to turn the music down, and she frustrates me. I gotta turn this off. So
it's telling you you're going deaf, right? That mine tells me that.
Yeah, just like, hey, you probably should turn the volume down. Be like, hey, I'm okay. I promise. So.
All right. We Believe members, do you guys have any questions before we let Coach go here? Anything else? Give it a second. While we're waiting to see if anything comes in, Coach, just how excited are you to get these guys into the weight room in a day or two?
I can't wait. I can't wait. I got to sit down with about 20, 25 of them before break. So got to talk to them, and obviously all the new guys that we brought in, I got to talk to when on their visits. But man, I can't wait to get going. It's such a great time that I get to have with my family and all this stuff, and all the excitement of them moving out. My wife was driving through a blizzard in Oklahoma yesterday on her way out here, and my kids are going to fly out with my in-laws coming up pretty soon. So I think once they're all here, it's really gonna hit me, and I'm really gonna kind of feel whole and be ready to go. But I can't wait to stand in front of the guys tomorrow and let them feel my energy and let them feel how excited I am to get going.
Wow. Doesn't look like we have anything, but we're so excited to have you here, Coach. I mean, this was an awesome conversation. I love getting into the weeds on this kind of stuff. And you could just feel the energy coming even just through the computer screen. And, as somebody who's been around for a while, it's amazing the energy that you guys have brought to the program. And, I just, is it August already, late August already? Let's get after it. Like, we're ready for it. So
I know. And when I put my plan up on the whiteboard, it always looks like I don't have enough time. So that always kind of gets this sense of urgency going. And because, you look up at it right now, and you look at the end of April already, right after spring ball, and you're like, oh man, I don't have enough time. I got to get going. So.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you're going to watch Monday Night Football over at Bowley's, hope you enjoy as well. But thank you again so much, and we'll talk soon.
All right, thank you. This is awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.